Welcome to the Sunday Painter, the channel about everything painting. I've hand-picked videos from YouTube, from how to paint to making money from your art, with advice from seasoned artists. Check out my channel, click on the video link under the top banner, to see all my educational videos, may save years of struggle. Today we are going to talk about Bouguereau. This is one of my favorite artists. I found him a technical practitioner of painting beauty. You will see and understand at the end of the video. Here is a quote from Bouguereau. "One has to seek beauty and truth, sir. As I always say to my pupils, you have to work to the finish. There's only one kind of painting. It is the painting that presents the eye with perfection, the kind of beautiful and impeccable enamel you find in Veronese and Titian. Stay around to the end and hear my thoughts. Come and improve your art and expand your knowledge. Become a part of the Best Art channel and leave a happy comment, or let me know if there is an artist you would like to learn about. I also have this cool distressed tee design created just for this lesson. Check out this wearable art with other creative designs. The link is in the description below the video. See you on the other side."
The Sunday Painter.
Bouguereau was considered the quintessential academic painter. A painter of biblical and mythological figures and practiced a regimented, Renaissance style of painting. He was a compositionally brilliant painter who possessed a veritable talent at capturing lifelike forms. Bouguereau lived and worked at the same time as Impressionist artists like Edgar Degas, Claude Monet, and James Whistler, who rejected the prevalent academic style. He remained true to his classical training and worked diligently to produce pieces that were compositionally sound, richly pigmented, and featured classical subject matter. Born in La Rochelle, France in 1824. William Adolphe Bouguereau. He demonstrated an innate talent for painting, which he cultivated at the École des Beaux-Arts. Bouguereau first studied with François-Édouard Picot in Paris before his acceptance to the École des Beaux-Arts. It was there that he learned classical modeling of form and traditional points of technique. In 1850 he won the coveted Prix de Rome, and awarded an all-expenses-paid trip to Rome, to study Italian Renaissance masters and antiquities. On his return to France, Bouguereau was accepted at the Salon and was an elite member. He painted from life but took liberties with the subject matter. He labored intensely over the details of his figures until they seemed to jump off the canvas in a hyperreal style. Bouguereau's composition is directly derived from Renaissance models. Raphael was a favorite of his. His work reflected the period's obsession with the past. He historicized the values of his time. Through the lens of classicism, Bouguereau commented and critiqued his own society, something few painters were doing at that time. So let's try to understand classicism. Classicism, in the arts, refers generally to a high regard for a classical period, classical antiquity in the Western tradition, as setting standards for taste which the classicists seek to emulate. In its purest form, classicism is an aesthetic attitude dependent on principles based in the culture, art and literature of ancient Greece and Rome, with the emphasis on form, simplicity, proportion, clarity of structure, perfection, restrained emotion, as well as explicit appeal to the intellect. Classical tradition is usually located in the Renaissance, from the work of 14th century Italy. Although they believed that he was recovering an unobstructed view of a classical past that had been obscured for centuries, artists influenced by the classical tradition may name their ancient models, or allude to their works. Often scholars infer classical influence through comparative methods that reveal patterns of thought. During his life, he enjoyed significant popularity in France and the United States, was given numerous official honors, and received top prices for his work. He exhibited at the annual exhibitions of the Paris Salon for his entire working life. An early reviewer stated, "Bouguereau has a natural instinct and knowledge of contour. The form of the human body preoccupies him, and in recalling the happy results which, in this genre, the ancients and the artists of the 16th century arrived at, one can only congratulate Bouguereau in attempting to follow in their footsteps. Raphael was inspired by the ancients, and no one accused him of not being original." By the late 1850s, he had made strong connections with art dealers, particularly Paul Durand-Ruel, later the champion of the Impressionists, who helped clients buy paintings from artists who exhibited at the salons. In his own time, Bouguereau was considered to be one of the greatest painters in the world by the academic art community, and simultaneously he was reviled by the avant-garde. His associates used the term Bouguereau in a derogatory manner to describe any artistic style reliant on slick and artificial surfaces, also known as a licked finish. In an 1872 letter, Degas wrote that he strove to emulate Bouguereau's ordered and productive working style, although with Degas' famous trenchant wit, and the aesthetic tendencies of the Impressionists, it is possible the statement was meant to be ironic. By the early 20th century, Bouguereau and his art fell out of favor with the public, due in part to changing tastes. In the 1980s, a revival of interest in figure painting led to a rediscovery of Bouguereau and his work. Throughout the course of his life, Bouguereau executed 822 known finished paintings, although the whereabouts of many are still unknown. So how did Bouguereau create his paintings? Academic painting during the 19th century was taught in art schools across Europe, employing traditional yet rigorous methods for an aesthetically pleasing and refined product. A true academician, Bouguereau painted in stages. He would begin with a thumbnail scribble or a quick sketch that outlined the major compositional elements, then a figure drawing of models. He completed oil studies for individual body parts before moving on to the canvas. The last step was a full-sized cartoon, an outline in lead, and then the oil painting itself. To fully appreciate the art of Bouguereau, one must profess a deep respect for the discipline of drawing and the craft of traditional picture making. Bouguereau's in many ways had a unique style. The method Bouguereau used to execute his important paintings provided ample opportunity for the study and resolution of problems that might arise in each of these areas. The separate steps leading to the genesis of a painting were: 1. Croquis and tracings, 2. Oil sketch and or grisaille study, 3. Highly finished drawings for all the figures in the composition, as well as drapery studies and foliage studies, 4. Detailed studies in oil for heads, hands, animals, etc., 5. Cartoon, and, only then, 6. The finished painting. The oil sketches, grisaille, and compositional studies in vine charcoal served as means for determining appropriate color harmonies and for the spotting of lights and darks. When asked by a journalist if he worked quickly, Bouguereau replied, "That depends. I produce a lot because I work all day long, without any breaks. It is the only way in fact of achieving good work. Often I find the desired gestures for my figures immediately. In that case, my painting is quickly completed. If, on the other hand, things don't go the way I want, I put the canvas aside for a day or two and wait till I feel better disposed. I never work on one picture only but have 3 or 4 in progress in my studio. That way, if a model doesn't turn up one day, I don't have to sit around with my hands in my pockets, I can work on the others." Bouguereau's medium recipe he kept secret. Pupils believed it was composed of a mixture of cicative to Harlem and essence, plus a little oleous added in the summer months to prevent its drying too quickly. One of his students wrote, "Bouguereau, at the time I entered his studio, used as his sole medium a liquid composed of courtrai mixed with nut oil and turpentine oil in varying proportions, depending on the colors used. Thus, for shadows, he used spirit and courtrai, with little or no white; for the other colors, oil, spirit, and a small amount of courtrai; finally, to rework a dry outline, pure or nearly pure oil or spirit. For the skin, the combination of a burnt sienna imprimatura overlaid with an ultramarine blue and white value painting. The blue, if allowed to play through the skin, produces the effect of the unoxidized blood flowing through arteries. What is imprimatura? It is an initial stain of color painted on a ground. It provides a painter with a transparent, toned ground, which will allow light falling onto the painting to reflect through the paint layers. The term itself stems from the Italian and literally means first paint layer. Not only provides an overall tonal optical unity in a painting but is also useful in the initial stages of the work, since it helps the painter establish value relations from dark to light. It is most useful in the classical approach of indirect painting, where the drawing and underpainting are established ahead of time and allowed to dry. The successive layers of color are then applied in transparent glaze or semi-transparent layers. Bouguereau painting style has many layers to achieve the smooth finish you see in his works. Here are some of my thoughts. If one of my students said, "I want to learn how to paint like Bouguereau," I would tell them that they need to draw for many hours every day and study composition of the old masters by copying some of their work. Read and learn mythology, poetry, and philosophy of the human condition. Then before you ever start a painting you must work out all details and color of each elements before the very first brush stroke. It truly comes down to a lot of work. That is why when you see someone's copy of his work it looks hard and plastic. Not to say you could not learn how to paint like Bouguereau, it would take some very serious work. Now if you wanted to paint a Bouguereau light so to speak, I would say start with a very smooth canvas and put your initial colors down very thin. Then build up your work with many layers of light and darks. There is one more thing, all of Bouguereau's painting elements was not highly detailed. Like in any fine work, closer attention is paid to the main characters and suggested detail for the surrounding elements to make the work tell the story. So the whole painting doesn't have to be super detailed. Study his work and pay attention to how he rendered each element. Now that said, you will have your own style even if you follow and copy his work. Just add some of his ideas to your paintings. Study and paint times 10. Bouguereau was an assiduous painter, often completing 20 or more easel paintings in a single year. Even during the twilight years of his life, he would rise at dawn to work on his paintings 6 days a week and would continue painting until nightfall. Near the end of his life he described his love of his art. Each day I go to my studio full of joy, in the evening when obliged to stop because of darkness I can scarcely wait for the next morning to come, if I cannot give myself to my dear painting I am miserable. August 1905, aged 79, Bouguereau died in La Rochelle from heart disease. There was an outpouring of grief in the town of his birth. After a mass at the cathedral, his body was placed on a train to Paris for a second ceremony. Bouguereau was laid to rest with Nellie and his children at the family vault at Montparnasse Cemetery. As with all things there is much more to Bouguereau and hope this piques your curiosity. Please check out my distressed art tee design I made for this video and other designs you may like. Purchasing a tee helps me keep creating content for the channel and giving you the best in art educational videos, plus it would look good on you too. The link is in the description below the video. Thanks so much for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe for more Sunday painter lessons. If you want to see an artist I have not done yet, share in the comments. Thanks again, and have a happy day of painting.